Previously on Dawson's Creek.
Okay, it was your sister's idea to craft this place into a bed and breakfast, but I'm the one who told her she could do it for next to nothing.
The divorce is final. The Larrys of GYPSY are officially finished as a family.
I don't know what it's like to be in love like that.
Hello.
It's like to completely lose yourself in somebody else.
Sorry, I'm a little late because I needed
She's a freaking goddess, man. How long did you think it was going to be before
I needed to
some guy
fix
comes
my
along
kids'
who's
dinner, and
interested
then I
in
needed
what you
to
do?
eat myself. And the last time I went live and was eating, people were really upset about having to watch me eat through the live. So whatever. I figured I'd wait. So I'm definitely a little bit later than I usually am, since it is 7:30 now.
All the movie posters off my wall. Everything's in question. I figured, well, that's something unexpected for movie night.
Oh, so we're scaling new heights of mountain.
Sorry, Jory. Tonight's activities were meant to calm your nerves.
Hello.
Well, that's impossible.
How is everybody? I didn't eat pizza. I had tacos, and they were so good. They were so good. Yeah, so we had a walk. I took him on an hour walk before we got back, and then when we got back, I needed to cook dinner, so I was running a little behind. He needs a lot of exercise. He is very rambunctious, so I like to give him his exercise.
How about you? I mean, thinking about a vacation.
There was a lot of people who were like, I couldn't get past the first minutes because you were eating, and I was like, you could have just fast forwarded, but you know how people have a hard time comprehending. Yay! So you had pizza too that night. That's awesome. Everybody is really enjoying the reading, and I am so glad to be able to do this with you. Hey, Sassy Missy, it's been fun, right? Like having the discussion, being able to figure out contradictions like live while I'm reading. Yeah, I had tacos tonight. Because I feel like if I was just reading the book by myself and needing to take notes, it would be a little bit more difficult for me to find all the contradictions. But like with you guys with me, we're able to go over them all together. Yes, you made it on time. I was a little late though. Granted, I was a little late. Give me 1 second. I don't know if any of you all grew up in the 90s, but Dawson's Creek was like the shit, right? Oh my gosh. I remember, so I've been like binge watching Dawson's Creek. So I'm in North Carolina, and Dawson's Creek was literally filmed in Wilmington, which is on our coast. Did you go back and watch Cambria? Did you notice any contradictions from what we were reading? And if so, feel free to go ahead and type some into the chat. Hey, Laura, I was born in 82. I also love that we're reading it as a community, Violet. I feel like this is a way for all of us to hear the book without, supporting her individually financially.
Yeah, I finally figured out, Jim. I'm given the opportunity.
It was so good. I love Dawson's Creek.
But then you're also not giving me the opportunity
I can't say that I'm enjoying the book either, right? Because it is a little disturbing to read. I'm gonna move some things around so that I can sit a little bit more comfortably and read at the same time while I mute Dawson's Creek in the background. I'm gonna like, so that way we can sit down together and I don't have to feel like I need to move a ton in order to type in the chat to respond to questions or whatever. So we're just gonna do like that. Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing the live. Yeah, the grandfather, that story, it just pissed me off. I'm not even gonna lie. It pissed me off to hear her talking about her grandfather like that, especially since like it feels like nobody in her family really wants to dispute anything that she's saying. And I don't know if that's necessarily because they like are scared of her, or if they just don't want the public scrutiny, because whether we want to believe it or not, she is I don't want to say public figure, but she is in the public and she has a lot of media attention. Hey, Pug Lady. So, with that being said, because of the public attention comes that public scrutiny, and her family has kind of stayed away from that. And I feel like if they were to go and try to rebuttal, and thank you so much, thank you for the gift, to try to rebuttal anything that she said, it will come with a lot of public attention that they necessarily just don't want. Because if you think about it, she took their family member. Yes, Gypsy is part of the family, but Dee Dee was Claude's daughter. Dee Dee was their sister. This was their immediate family member. And for them, it's probably really hard to relive everything that she's done and everything that they've gone through. And I'm sure they have a lot of stories that they could tell about like things that happened before when Gypsy was little. I mean, I remember her grandfather making a comment about the breathing machine, and how the breathing machine would go off, and that it scared him because he didn't understand like what was going on. Heather, everything she says pisses me off. I try not to get like too angry about it because I know that it's all going to be a lie, but it infuriates me. I don't think they want to be re-traumatized, and I just don't think that they want to have anything to do with her. And going through like a rebuttal of the things that she's said, that would be engaging with her. And I don't think that they want to engage with her. I think they want to just like not really ignore her, just they want to stay away from her because they know that she is trouble. I think probably Dee Dee was conversing with her family members and kind of explaining to them like what she was going through with Gypsy, because I feel like there towards the end, like 2009 until 2015, I feel like everybody was afraid of her. Like her mother was afraid of her. And I feel like that fear probably was talked about with some of her family members. Yeah, it would open a can of worms, like a huge can of worms. So I understand them not wanting to do this. I do. I understand it. But I also realize that for all of us looking on the outside looking in, it can be a little infuriating that like nobody seems to be standing up to her. And they just kind of let her get away with pretty much everything. But remember, nothing lasts forever. With every high comes a low. So even though it's not happening as quickly as we would like to see it happen, her downfall is coming because you can't stay up forever. And the media loves to tear somebody down. I mean, they just love it. Remember what they did to Britney Spears. Remember what they did to Lindsay Lohan. Remember what they did to like Miley Cyrus and all these different stars. So they love to tear somebody down. And I feel like it's going to happen because Melissa Kimber, sit. Kimber, sit. Good boy. Stay there. Good. Melissa and Michelle both cannot put all of this information. You stay. Can't put all of this information in the book and not know that what they're printing is a fabricated lie. Like, whenever they read some of the information that was in the book, proofreading and all of that, I'm sure they had to have seen interviews where she contradicted exactly what was said in the book. Like, they have to know that she's contradicting herself like over and over and over again, from the book to podcasts to interviews to TV appearances. It's literally a contradiction from one platform to the next. And they have to know that this book contradicts things that she has said previously. And I feel like they are silently sabotaging her. I think that Melissa, and I don't know if necessarily Mike Stanfield is silently sabotaging her, but I have a feeling that Melissa is, because even she mentioned on one of the podcasts or one of the interviews or whatever, she was like, I did this. This is my fault that she's so public, blah, 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 blah. So I think that she understands that she created a mess and she created a monster. And I feel like this book was a little silent sabotage. Like, they printed it because they wanted to see how many people were going to call out the contradictions, how many contradictions were going to be found. And if by the time this book came out, like what her public image was, how the public was going to receive this book, and if they are going to be able to press forward in giving her some sort of career in public speaking or advocacy or whatever. And I think that the public has greatly screamed very, very loudly that they're not happy with this. The 1-star review ratings on all the platforms kind of show that nobody is happy with this book, and their plans for her moving into a different genre in order to keep this career going or this career path going is inevitably a fail. Like, it's not going to happen. Yeah, I definitely feel like if we all work together instead of pinning against each other, we'd have a bigger platform to make a pretty loud statement. Everybody loves a little bit of drama, but Gypsy loves the mess. She loves it. How do I show the message? It won't let me. The other day I was able to show the messages, but why won't it let me show this one? I don't know. I'm using my laptop because whenever I did the video last night, it would not upload. I had so much trouble getting it to upload. It took me, I think, 4 different tries getting it to upload from my phone. But the night that I used my laptop, it uploaded really quickly. So I was like, let me just use my laptop. Even though the picture's not the greatest, I have a hard time with the comments. For me, uploading simpler was the easiest way for me to go. Okay, yes, let's work together. And there's a lot of creators that also really love the drama. I try to stay out of it. The chromosome admission was huge, Ashka. It was huge. And even though she is still not trying to correlate her illnesses with the chromosome disorder, it's not going to take, I mean, people aren't idiots. All they have to do is Google the chromosome disorder and look back at all of the things that GYPSY said was wrong with her in order to put 2 and 2 together to be like, well, she may say that she went unscathed, but according to her medical records, she actually didn't. Melissa would be smart if she wrote a book exposing GYPSY. That book would make her career even bigger than it is right now. No, so she does believe that she has the deletion, but what GYPSY is saying is that she doesn't have any of the symptoms from the deletion, which is totally false. Because if you, like I said, if you listen to all of the things over the years that GYPSY has said that she had wrong with her, in like all of the things that she had to have done, it all goes back to the chromosome deletion. So in a way, it's her own admission, but it's not. The book is definitely a confession. I think that she knows that the medical procedures are linked to the chromosome disorder. I think that she is trying to hide that fact for as long as possible, because the medical procedures were done because of the chromosome deletion, it throws her defense out of the water. Not saying that, they would be able to like retry her or anything, but her whole public persona was based on the fact that she was a victim of Munchausen by proxy. So it would literally ruin everything that she's done up until today. I think that people are going to start figuring it out on their own. Like, we're not dumb. And for her to be so loud and proud about the chromosome deletion on the Barely Famous podcast, admitting it like that was the first step in seeing her crash. Just know it's going to happen. And that was the first step. I truly believe that. Because even though Kaylin didn't call her out on it and be like, oh, well, you said that you had this and you said that you had this, and it says it's linked to the chromosome disorder, even though she didn't call her out on it, there's other people that are listening that are calling her out on it. Eventually, it's going to become public. She is trying to play on that, but it's not going to last forever. It's not. I know it's not. It's just a matter of time. I promise. Okay, so we're on chapter 13, and if tonight is your first night with me reading the book, all of the other chapters are broken down into threes, and you can find them on my YouTube channel, starting with the beginning of the book all the way up until tonight's. So I think there's 4 other videos and then tonight's video. So this chapter 13 is negotiations. I don't know why everybody said read chapter 13. So apparently there's some really juicy information in chapter 13 that we're going to find out about. Cambria, my username is exactly the same as it is on TikTok. Supposedly TikTok is getting ready to get banned. So my username is the same on every platform, just so I'm easier to find, except for on Facebook because I have to use my real name, because I'm verified or whatever. Okay, she says, you have to come get me, I begged Nick. The plan was for him to get back on a bus and take me to his home in Wisconsin to live with him and his mom and stepdad. Nick had a private room with a bathroom, all his own upstairs, so we'd be comfortable enough and have privacy. Nick said his mother welcomed me but wouldn't give him the money to come back to Missouri. She didn't know too much about my situation. She talked to Nick about our relationship as if we were any other 20-something couple in love and miles apart. Her advice to him was that couples take turns in the relationship, so it was my turn to reciprocate for the visit he took when we met at the movie theater a few months earlier. She told Nick that if I really loved him, I would make the trip to Wisconsin. Jip needs me to come. Oh, sorry, hold on. Jip needs to come to Wisconsin this time, Nick's mother said. I don't believe Nick's mother ever said this, by the way. I'm just gonna go ahead and start this out. I do not believe that Nick's mother ever said any of these things. A little something clicked in my head, I guess because it was so natural for his mother to assume I would just go to him for a visit, as if life were that simple and I could go about doing things that are expected to be done by everyone in the world except me. Hearing it this way, it just all clicked. I'm not free to make my own choices in life. Life should be that simple, and mine is not. I homed in on the devastating notion that I had this open invitation and the opportunity to visit Nick, his mother supporting our love, and I couldn't do a damn thing. We felt like our relationship was on the brink of collapse. We believed we tried everything to be together, and now it was a matter of taking extreme measures. We worried the shed incident would lead to something worse for me. We need to think of a new option, Nick said. I agreed, and then I made the suggestion to which Nick said, Victor can do it, but you need to be the one to beg him. So I sent a message to Victor on Facebook, and the exchange went something along the lines of, Victor, will you please do the deed? Yes, my submissive, I will do the deed for you, but it will be done my way and how I want. My one condition to do the deed, because you are too weak to do this to yourself, I want to grape your mother. And Gypsy says, no. How the fuck am I supposed to do this? And how dare you ask me to do this? And you won't give me the one thing I ask for. And Gypsy says, I'll let you grape me instead. Then, no, I am going to grape you after it's done. Okay. You will go to the bathroom. I will scratch on the door. The scratch is the code for it's over. Okay. You will be clean and shaved and naked, and then I will grape you. Okay. So she's saying that Nick is the one saying all these things, but I don't believe that. I don't believe that, not one bit. I believe she was the one who was telling him what to do, how to do, when to do, all the things. He doesn't seem like the type of person who makes decisions very easily. Yeah, the lies about the shaving, that's another one because in the text messages between her and Nick, hey, Amelia, in the text messages between her and Nick, she was the one telling him that she was going to shave. Remember? Yeah, it was her saying that, right, Buffy? Like, we're all on the same. Thank you for listening, patience. Drive safe, okay? The contract sealed, our subsequent conversations turned strategic. How could the deed be done? How can he unalive my mother so I can be free? Arson, burn the house up, Nick suggested. Knock over a candle and it will look like an accident. No, there's too many things that can go wrong, I answered. I actually think that arson probably would have been a good idea if she was, sleeping from Ambien or Xanax or whatever, and she was in a pretty deep sleep. Arson probably could have worked, and that would have been a lot less painful than 17 times. No, there's too many things that could go wrong, I answered. Roundup or arsenic? No, I said poison is slow and shuts the body down. Too brutal. Arson? I mean, and arsenic or Roundup is more brutal than 17 jabs? I don't think so. What about a gun, Victor? Can shoot her, Nick suggested. I researched how I could get a gun, but information online revealed that I needed a state issued ID, which I didn't have. I'm pretty sure she did have a state issued ID, right? Yeah, she did. I think it was in Nicholas's trial that she was talking about it there. How about a knife? Nick wrote as a caption to a picture of a large fillet knife he sent me. It was like a fucking machete. So she's saying that Nick sent her a knife. I don't believe that either. Not at all. No, I'm not getting you that, I said. My rule is you will buy it. Nick said he wanted to my mother and feed her body to pigs. We don't want DNA or a body, he said. We can dump her at a pig farm. Pigs eat anything. I asked nicely that we just make it quick and painless, but it's like he didn't hear me. Get triple locking handcuffs, a ball gag, and a taser so I can torture her a little. I think Gypsy was the one who wanted her to be tortured. I don't think that Nicholas wanted to torture her. I think that Gypsy had a really very sick mind and wanted her mother to suffer as much as humanly possible. I looked online for what he suggested and I was like, I said painless. That's when he told me to get duct tape instead. The final plan was I'd steal a large kitchen knife from Walmart. He could grate me and he could grate me when he was done. He would leave her body in her bed. Then we'd slip off to Wisconsin to live our quiet life. I thought we had it all settled. And then he had an idea. Nick said he wanted to load my mother's dead body into our Ford Windstar, grape her with a condom, and then afterward demand that I SUCK his semen from it and then drop her body at a pig's farm. She's saying that the car was a Ford Windstar. I don't think they had a Ford Windstar. I think that they had like a Nissan Cube or something. Yeah, you're right, Janie. Isn't she disturbing? Talk time with Jay. Isn't she just so? Yeah, it was a cube. So where did this Ford Windstar come from? That's absolutely disgusting. I said, I don't want to do that. He reminded me that I was well aware of Victor's demented fantasies and that I couldn't change him now. Then I reminded him that my 95-pound body would never be able to move the dead weight of a 200-pound woman. When we both realized that the laws of physics were against us, the unspoken plan was to leave her where she was. He could have called the cops. I could have called the cops. He could have told his mother what was going on, but neither of us did. The only thing that ran through my head was my life was at stake. I had already tried to run away from home twice. I would have kept trying. Like, keep trying to run away. Why did unaliving have to be done? Why couldn't you continue to try to run away? 2 times is not that much, to be honest. I remember running away from home as a teenager like 15, 30 plus times. So 2 times, that's all you tried? To me, I feel like right. At 24, it's not running away. It's literally leaving home. Like, she could have just left. I don't know. She may have looked like she was bigger than she was because short people do look heavier than they are because they're short. So it could have been 250, 200 to 250. I mean, I don't know, but she definitely couldn't have moved her. That's for sure. Ah, good point, Logic. Logic is saying that this book reads like they're trying to rebuttal some of the other things that have been said, like some of the rumors about her being all the blood going into the tub and whatnot, or stealing the money for herself. A bus, yeah, rather than buying him the bus ticket to come to Missouri, she could have bought herself a bus ticket and just got on the bus and left. Like, her mother would not have known where she was going and how to find her if she had just left. Thank you. I knew it was a Nissan Cube. So, what is she talking about with the Ford Windstar? Was that the van that they had before? Maybe that was the van that they had had before. She wasn't. She wasn't planning on leaving with Nick. I don't think she really wanted to be with Nick. He was just a tool. It was before. Okay. None of Gypsy's reasons for doing any of this ever made any sense. Nick was always the fall guy. She didn't really want to be with him. She was using him like the entire time. Maybe she had small feelings for him, like that grew over time, but she was using him. She found me, brought me back, and made it worse for me. She had paperwork saying that I was mentally incompetent. I don't I don't think the paperwork said that she was mentally incompetent. I think that it was a power of attorney for medical procedures because she wasn't able to take care of herself medically. And we already know that she's not a good caretaker of herself because she said that it was like her going to prison was the first time that she had ever been in charge of taking care of her own hygiene. So if you're 24 years old and you're not even grown enough to take care of your own hygiene, how could your mother trust you to take care of your medical care? You know, so I feel like that was done as a way to protect Gypsy, to make sure that she was getting the proper care that she needed, because she does need a lot of medical care. Like, I don't think that her mom was doing that to be vindictive or to be spiteful or to be controlling. I think it was generally done as a way to help her. Yes, thank you, Lisa. They should have, Amelia, they should have investigated her for hiring him. She definitely would not have gotten 8 years in prison. It's crazy. So I thought she'd just tell the cops the same thing if I dialed 911. The police would probably just bring me back to her. DFS had already made their visit. Let me just stop right here and say the cops are not going to take a 24-year-old adult back to her mother's house if that's not where she wants to be. They're just not. Because at 24 years old, you are able to do whatever the fuck you want to do. You're a legal adult. So she could have called the cops and been like, I'm trying to get away from my abusive mother. I'm 24 years old and she's not letting me leave. And the police would have come out to the house and allowed her to leave. Like that, yeah. Like, that's just her again trying to excuse and justify what she's done. And I think these justifications are more for herself than the public, because we already know that this is a stupid excuse. Because we know that at 23, 24 years old, you can just get up and walk away. She told my entire family consisted of shitheads and that my father was abusive to his new kids. Oh no, she told me my entire family consisted of shitheads and that my father was abusive to his new kids. Brilliant minds in science and medicine had been duped, and the school system didn't seem to notice I wasn't being educated. So in my brain, I was thinking about all the ways that I had already tried and failed. And of course, all the experts in their respective fields, all the authority figures, doctors, social workers, clergy, philanthropists who had been useless in detecting any abuse or helping me in any positive way. What was in Nick's brain, I don't know for sure, but it felt like I was being used to help him live out this fantasy as if he was playing around with characters that he created in his mind or in a video game. And some of them were evil killers, and maybe it might be fun for him to play around with that darker side of life. Were we using each other? With hindsight, I wish Nick had been someone different. A man, perhaps, who would have stopped me in my tracks, told me it was going to be okay, and that he'd help me find my dad or call the police or at least tell his family to help me. Again, why is she expecting somebody else to do things for her? If she wanted to call the cops, she could have called the cops herself. Like, why does she assume that somebody else needs to be the one to help her out of her situation? Bitch, you are a grown ass fucking adult. Get up on your feet, stand up, and take control over your life and actually do something to help yourself if that were the case. Exactly. All the devices that she stole, all the things that happened, and you want us to believe that you were incapable of calling the fucking police? It just sounds so ridiculous that only an idiot would believe that. And there are a lot of idiots out there. I'm just going to say. There are a lot of idiots. Page 128. That's where I'm at right now. So I'll keep reading. Okay, good. I wish the man I met online would have been able to help me see that desperate times do not call for desperate measures, that when you love someone you help them rise above their circumstances instead of taking the lowest way out. I was just going to roll my eyes at that because it sounds good on paper, but we already know that GYPSY does not act in this way. This sounds good on paper to make her sound like a rehabilitated adult, but she still doesn't rise above circumstances. Like, she's her morals are like a sewer rat. And I think they might have better morals because sewer rats give themselves baths, at least. I wish the man I had met online hadn't been as irrational and isolated and as disturbed as I had been in that very moment. Maybe none of this would happen if I had still been talking to Dan. Maybe my mother would still be alive if she had allowed me at least one phone a friend. Maybe if I had been educated or without a cocktail of prescription drugs, my rational brain would have worked better. I will never know. Yeah, she's a swamp rat. Yay, Chrissy, you're here. She was stealing them. So I found a video on TikTok where a girl was literally doing contradictions from the book to things that GYPSY had said in the past. And in the book, she claims that her mother knew she was addicted to painkillers and was literally feeding her the painkillers. But in other documentaries, she says that her mom had no idea that she was taking the painkillers and that she was stealing the painkillers from her mother. So I'm hoping somebody takes that kid away from her. I missed your live, Phoenix. Page 72 in the kitchen scene. Okay, I will. I'll go back to look at it. All right, we're on chapter 14. This is the chapter where she talks about the night of the unaliving. Every word is a contradiction. Yes, Heather, every single word. It's my last Saturday morning in prison. The passing of time has stopped as suddenly as a summer rain in the South. My morning ritual, drinking instant coffee and breaking off the corner of a Pop-Tart, will soon be a memory. And still eating nothing but junk. Pop-Tarts. As of next Saturday, I will be in my home, learning how to brew real coffee in a percolator. I have so much to learn about, even the most basic things, like how do I like my eggs, or do I even like eggs? Which side of the bed do I prefer? Will I pick the side I slept on with my mother, or will I do the opposite? Which is to say, either decision will be equally governed by her. What television shows will I like? Which series will I binge watch first? Will I go for a health physical? How will I find the right therapist? Will making love freak me out? Next Saturday, I will be on the incline of a learning curve with slopes that range from mundane to serious. Will there be mere distractions from the great regret of my life, or will the curves be more like a roller coaster of reminders? On this past weekend spent at Chillicothe, I felt stiller than ever. Someone told me to enjoy the calm because this might be the quietest and most private time I will have for a very long time. For somebody who didn't know how big the story had gotten and didn't want all the fame and attention, she's telling us right now that she knew that when she got out, it was going to be a lot of attention on her, and that was what she wanted. I know I'll be meeting the press and I'll be asked a million questions. Some people will be happy for me, others will hate me. Both groups will swap positions until they lose interest. I get it. I've done it myself. I've been fascinated over people, wondered what made them do things, imagined how they feel about their choices, but like a toddler catching the glimpse of a new shiny toy, I've turned my attention to the next exciting thing. As part of my life penance, I will be accountable for my crime. However, there is one part of my story that I will leave locked up behind bars at Chillicothe. I want to talk about it here in this book, so I know I've preserved the important details, along with validating the suffering endured by my mother in her final moments. On June 9th, 2015, I wanted the circumstances I was living in to go away forever. When I thought of her, it was an obstacle. You are the obstacle. What do I have to do to get past you? That is the way that she was thinking about her mother. A human being. You are an obstacle that I need to get past. Like, what? Oh, Kane, I hope that nothing's wrong with the baby. Somebody said that they've heard that something's wrong with the pregnancy. I hope that everything's okay with the baby. So, Mama slept with her baby pillow, the one she has since she was literally an infant. My mother carried that baby pillow in a larger pillowcase, like a potato dropped in a sack as a way to preserve the timeline of her existence trapped in a yellow stained residue of spit up tears, sweat, and soon enough, blood. And then she put that into another pillowcase and into another, forming what looked like lumpy mashed potatoes. That night, my mother was going to die. I remember slowing the evening down. I think people would describe it as being in the moment. I took in my mother in a way I never had. I smelled that pillow, imprinting her scent in my memory like a hunting dog. I cried in the pillow as I spoke to it, saying, I'm sorry, but this is something I have to do. Are you fucking kidding me? What are we reading right now? It wasn't something that she had to do. It wasn't. This was not something that she had to do. This was something that she wanted to do. Had is not the correct word to use. I wiped my tears, got back in my wheelchair, and found her in the kitchen as she prepared my dinner. I wheeled myself up to the back of her and hugged her waist. When she turned, she could see my eyes were a little wet. I love you, I said. Baby, she answered, I love you too, but I'm not dead yet. I don't think her mom said that. Was she really reading my mind? I do know that as a mother, there are times when I can sense that something is going on with my child in a way that it's weird. I can't describe it, but there's been times where I've like waken up in the middle of the night and had premonitions that something was happening with my kid, and then find out later that something actually did happen whenever I woke up. So I do know that there's a, like, you're on a certain wavelength because we're all connected. We're all connected. So I know that you're on a certain wavelength together, especially the children that you birth out. So I can see that maybe her mother knew that something was not right, like something was happening, something was going on. Do I think that her mother thought that Gypsy was planning to unalive her? No. But do I think that Dee Dee knew that somehow there were things that were happening that seemed unpredictable, out of control, and different? Like her mom knew that something was going on. She just couldn't put her foot down on it to actually say like what's going to happen. But I do think that her mom was afraid of her. And I know a lot of y'all think the same thing. Buffy, go get your wine. Yeah, we're all human and none of us are perfect. Nobody is. You guys are having a really good conversation in the chat. That's awesome. I told Nick I'd leave surgical gloves. I can't see every comment, but I think that you can send like a super chat and that will put that up to the top if it's something that you really want me to see and like read out loud. I told Nick I'd leave the surgical gloves outside for him and to text me when he was ready to come inside. I'd hand the knife to him. Then I promised I'd paint my nails pink for him. So after dinner, my mother and I ran an errand to Walmart, watched Merlin, and painted each other's nails in liquid cotton candy. I kept an eye on the clock so I could text him from a secret phone when I knew she was sleeping. It was 1:30 a.m. when I wrote him, "She's asleep." I wasn't focused on what he would need to do to remove the obstacle. I just focused on the aftermath, the freedom. Would we get a dog or a cat? She's literally talking about how she's getting ready to unalive her mom and she's thinking about getting a dog or a cat. Like, are you serious right now? There was a moment when I grimaced at the thought of her being strong enough to struggle. Oh boy. Okay, getting a cab now, Nick texted back. I got out of our bed because I still slept with my mother. I got into the electric wheelchair and went to pee and took 3 more Vicodin. I waited for the next text. I'm here. I rolled my wheelchair to the door and let Nick in. I still didn't dare walk as my mother could wake up at any point. So she wants us to believe that she didn't get up and walk at all. That's such a lie. Her muscles and her legs tell us that she was getting up, walking around. Like, we're not stupid. I think she thinks that people are, but we're not.
Mom, I
Hey,
think the microwave's like weird.
what happened?
You know how I said, "What's that noise?" Last time when I turned the microwave on yesterday,
Yeah,
it's because the circle plate was hitting the door.
it was beating it.
Yeah, so I opened
Like
the
it
door.
wasn't on the.
So then I put it on there and I'm fixing it. And
Yeah.
I'm trying, or at least I'm trying to. I connect it and it's still right there on the door.
That's weird.
Right?
So I'll
How
have.
did it get closer?
I don't know, but I'll come and check it in a minute. And if not, we might have to put in a work order so they can replace it.
Okay.
If it's like,
I don't know why it's doing that.
I'll check it. My daughter. Hey, Jess. Kimber, sit.
Oh, actually, I think it was because the rolling circle thing. Oh, wait, never mind. It's still like that.
Are you sure?
Hold on.
Give me a second, you guys. My daughter's a trip.
Let's see if it does it again.
Yeah, if it starts beating the microwave, you'll hear it. Yeah, he's huge.
No, I think I fixed it, but it's still pretty close. So I don't know why it's so.
Okay, well, I'll check it in a minute. But if it's not hitting the microwave right now, then at least the problem's solved for now. I didn't see her. Hold on a second, Sassy Missy. What did she say? Thank you. Yeah, I don't mind like people with differing opinions. Just be mindful that we're all adults, so let's not be nasty towards one another. You're definitely allowed to have a different opinion. I'm not here to try to change your opinion. We're just reading a book. Thank you. Okay, let me figure out where I was. Okay, I'm here. I rolled my wheelchair to the door and let Nick in. I still didn't dare walk as my mother could wake at any point. Okay, where's the knife? Nick asked, all business, not noticing my nails still smelled of the pink lacquer. He was dressed in very dark sweatpants, a black graphic t shirt with scary clowns, and a black zippered hoodie. I pulled a large kitchen knife from the couch cushion where I had tried to hide so many objects from her. Nick ordered, get your ass to the bathroom. Yes, sir. I went to the bathroom, sat on the floor, and covered my ears, except I heard everything. Nick entered the room soundlessly because there was no bedroom door. So when she finally woke up, it must have been because he was standing over her, not because of any noise. She was startled, and I remember hearing her as if her voice was muffled because I was a couple of doors down the hall with the door closed, but it sounded like she said, "Who are you?" In Nick's arrest interview, he claimed she said something like, I am death. You will die now. He never said that. He didn't say that. Right? Ah, so she's admitting right here that she actually watched his interrogation. She's admitting right now that she actually watched his interrogation, but claims that she never watched the act, but yet you watched his interrogation. Okay. But I didn't hear that. I just heard the screaming. And then I lay in the fetal position with my hands pressed over my ears, but I could still hear things. Stop, I heard her say. Enough, enough, please, enough. There was a pause in the stabbing, and then it sounded like she may have had a pool of blood in her mouth because I heard her say with a gargle, Gypsy, Gypsy. I didn't answer. I didn't go to her. I just stayed very, very still. I was trying to focus on my breathing. There weren't thoughts going through my head at all. Kimber, leave it. It was like I was locked inside a cloud. With the out of reach earth spinning below me, nothing was real. I was in a simulation as I focused on taking my next breath and the next. And then I heard one sharp, help me. During the trial, it came out that Nick had cut the back of her neck. So I imagine that shrill of pain came then. My father and Christy, along with my attorney, Mike Stanfield, kept the details and the photos far away from me. So the first time I learned the level of brutality was at Nick's trial. I remember being afraid. I would vomit because in my mind, her death didn't look like the crime scene photos. My brain had created a reality that didn't exist. After that sharp help me, there was total silence. There was nothing more after that. I don't believe that she hasn't seen the crime scene photos, and I don't believe that she didn't see what happened that night. I have a feeling that she saw everything. No, Luna, the bedroom did, I think I pronounced that right. Luana, the bedroom did not have a door. She said that the bedroom didn't have a door because the wheelchair wouldn't fit through the door if the door was still on the hinges. I, however, think that it was taken off because Gypsy was trying to keep an eye on her mother, and because her and her mother were back and forth at each other, this was a way for her mother not to be able to like hide in her own room. I thought about it, Christy, sending him a copy of the pages where she talks about him. I haven't told anybody, but I have communicated with him through email a few times. That's something that I've kept very private because I didn't think that I needed to be like public about it. But I have spoken with him privately, and I did think that maybe he should hear the awful things that she's saying about him, because I know I will. I think what I'll actually do is I will send him the PDF that I have of the entire book, because I mean he has nothing else to do but read, so it'll give him something to do to read so that he's able to see what it is that she's saying about him, because I feel like he deserves to know what she's saying about him when he is supposedly the one who saved her from her life and is now out here living life on her own terms, getting to do whatever it is that she wants to do, and he's still locked up behind bars because of what she coerced him into doing. I do think that she enjoyed watching her mom suffer, and I think that she enjoys knowing that Nicholas is behind bars because of her. Like she's a narcissist, and narcissists feed off of shit like that. So I think that she gets great pleasure in knowing that he's behind bars for life, and she's the one who put him there, and she's out here living her life. She gets off on that in more ways than one. She probably masturbates to it, because you know she's dirty minded like that. According to a case supplement report, a fellow inmate of Nick's at Greene County Jail told investigators that Nick began talking to him about it was like to kill my mother. The report says Godejohn said it made him feel good as he was stabbing her, and said he would do it again if needed for GYPSY. The inmate, who was looking to help his own legal case by snitching, also said that when my mother resisted, Nick kept jabbing her, saying something like, "Death is calling to you, stop fighting." That's not in the police report at all. It's this entire thing that she's saying right now is nowhere in the Greene County police reports. Luana, I think that it's bullshit that he went in the house. Why wouldn't he be allowed to read the book? I mean, she committed the crime along with him and wrote the book. And this is not a communication between GYPSY and Nick. It's a communication between me and Nick, in which I am sending him the book. So I think that that's well within his legal right to read a book, as long as there are like no messages within the book, then he's well within his rights to read it. It doesn't matter if she's the author of the book or not. Yeah, she definitely gets off on the crime photos. And if you don't know, Leanna makes some content about GYPSY. She said that secretly she felt like, Phoenix, I'll let you up in just a little bit, unless you don't mind just hanging out while I'm reading. Tell me in the comments, and if so, I'll let you up. But I think Leanna was talking about how that she felt like GYPSY, what's the best way for me to word this without getting in trouble? That she was over sexualizing her mom and actually had fantasies of being intimate with her own mother, if that's the easiest way for me to say that without getting in trouble. So if you want to go, it was on her TikTok, and she listed out a lot of different things, but she was definitely like over sexualizing her own mom in this book. Okay, so do you want to come up now, or do you want to just wait until the end of the book? I'm gonna read until chapter 16. So whenever I'm like halfway through 15, I can let you up. Okay, cool. Or I'll just let you up now, that way I don't forget. Okay. Where am I at? The attorney said,
I'll put myself on mute and then go ahead.
okay. Thank you. Good night, back to Bushwick. We'll see you tomorrow. The attorney said that the laceration at the back of her neck was deep enough that she was almost decapitated. Even though I have not looked at the photos of my mother, the image of her maimed body will never leave me. Well, how do you know what her maimed body looked like if you didn't look at it?
Exactly. I love the way you think, because you're looking at the book by watching what's happened over let's say the last year almost.
Yeah.
And seeing this all played out. There's so many inconsistencies that I've pointed out in about, 12 or 13. We're in chapter 14. Wait till you get a little further. It gets even more wild. Go ahead.
Okay. He had toyed with her. I hadn't asked for that. Nick didn't come straight for me. Instead, he went to the kitchen to wipe off the knife with a paper towel, and he removed the blue surgical gloves with the same kind of gloves Mama had used to administer treatment to me. How would she know that if she was in the bathroom? I was stripped down and in the bathtub, where I ran some water, shaved my legs, shaved my vagina, and then wiped myself off. Again, how would she know that he went to the kitchen if she was in the bathroom? And how would she have known what he did in the kitchen if she was in the bathroom?
And why would she strip down?
Right.
Why would you strip down out of your clothes?
Why would you be completely naked while he's completely clothed?
Well, the only time I would strip down is if I'm outside and I've done something in the garden and I'm exactly dirty. And why would somebody strip down and take a bath to wash themselves off?
Because she did something.
Where'd you say the
That little blue.
tone alcohol?
So if you look in the bathroom, it's a little blue spray bottle where my makeup stuff is.
All I'm seeing is the Monat.
No. On the other side, near the toilet.
Is it the blue bottle or is it this piercing aftercare?
No, it's the blue bottle.
And it's just alcohol?
It's 100. It's like that moonshine stuff that Brett made.
Well, I need to be. It's gonna clean right here?
Yeah, it's alcohol.
Is it gonna irritate my skin?
It shouldn't. It's never irritated mine.
Do you put it on your face?
I don't spray it on my face. No.
No, I'm gonna spray it on a towel.
Yeah, you should be fine.
What do you put on your face? How do you put it on your face?
I don't put it on my face. I clean the countertops with it. I clean my mirror with it. Like it's a.
Well, do you have that in that bottle?
What?
That Equate bottle that says 100%
Alcohol?
Pure alcohol?
Isopropyl alcohol?
I don't know. Yeah, right.
There's some under the sink.
Yeah.
If you'd rather use that.
Yeah.
It's under my sink. It's in a white bottle, and it says isopropyl alcohol.
Yeah.
You found it? Okay. Yeah, you can use that. But they're both alcohol. Just one was made out of liquor, and the other one, I don't know how that was made.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna use this one to be safe.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, and like, why would she need to shave her private parts? It just sounds to me like she was trying to clean herself up from something that she had done. That's what it sounds like to me, because why else are you like stripping yourself naked? Sassy Missy, do you want to come up and just hang out while I'm reading? Answer me in the comments and then I'll let you up. Oh, okay. You have something to say. Okay, cool. Hold on.
And mind you, Nick was only there for a few hours.
Right.
Testimony, cab driver's testimony. And that's
Let me close my door really quick, because when we're reading, I don't want my daughter to hear this book.
Nick got there at 2 a.m. He didn't arrive until the time. The whole timeline of it all doesn't make sense, and it's been and she passed away on the 9th. So I think she had the majority to do with it.
Oh yeah.
And that's why she was rinsing herself off in the shower, because she had evidence on her. I agree, and it started in the kitchen.
Yeah, it started in the kitchen. So something must have happened, and she said that she was in the kitchen with her mom. Her mom was cooking dinner, remember? So something probably happened in the kitchen. And instead of her coming up and like hugging her mom, she probably did a job.
And they claimed that, they also claimed that Dan, I think it was Dan, right? Climbed through the window, but nothing, if you look at the crime scene photos, nothing from the window sills were ever disturbed. It didn't even look like, and he was a big dude. If he
was a big dude.
Window, that whole thing would have been knocked out. Yeah, so that was David. And, you know, in the crime scene photos, you see the splatter at the top of the ceiling in the cabinets. There are evidence markers.
Oh, I didn't see those.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, it's all over. Like, there's evidence that was never even marked.
Let me know if y'all can hear that now.
Droplets on the counter, by the sink, on the flour, droplets all around this. I clothes that were on the floor, cleaning up, and by the washer. Yeah, and in Dee Dee's bedroom where the clothes were on the floor, there's evidence there too. That was never marked.
I don't think I looked at the crime scene photos that much to see all that.
Yeah, if you start looking at those crime scene photos, they tell a different.
They tell a different story.
You can't see those crime scene photos. Those crime scene photos were brutal.
I've seen some of them. Like, I've looked at all of them. I've just not investigated them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've looked at them, but I've not paid attention to each picture.
I've always wondered too, is Nick never had the motive to do it?
No.
And the words that were written on her buttocks doesn't make sense.
Well, I think that GYPSY did that.
Yeah,
the V on her bottom.
It gets really good.
Okay, I'm gonna keep reading. If there's something that I find suspicious in the book, I'll stop. So she says, "Thank you, sir," I repeated, wondering when the relief would come. Hold on, I skipped some stuff. Nick scratched on the door, the signal, and that was it. Stark naked, I opened the door for him, and he was standing there with the knife in his hand. It was wrapped in a paper towel. He walked into the bathroom, set the knife on the counter by the sink, and stretched his arms out, wanting me to hug him. And so I gave him a hug. "Say thank you, sir," I repeated, wondering when the relief would come. I was shivering at that point. Nick had a paper towel around his finger, which was cut and bleeding. "Clean me up," Nick ordered. "Yes, sir." I grabbed the box of Band-Aids. I wiped the blood off his finger with an alcohol swab, the same way I tended to my mother's wounds after I shot her with the BB gun. I dabbed the droplet of blood on his tennis shoe. I wiped away the red handprint that wrapped around Nick's forearm. After I got him cleaned up, we sat there in the bathroom for a second, just holding each other. His steadiness felt good as I shivered. Go to your bedroom, Nick ordered. With my head bowed, I slowly walked to my bedroom. I never sat in a wheelchair again. I felt exposed and vulnerable in my nakedness, my baldness, and my gummy mouth. Nick had ordered me not to wear my wig or dentures. He wanted me stripped of everything. I resembled an alien from one of his many extraterrestrial nations that he colluded with in his various fantasy worlds and realms. As I passed my mother's bedroom, I didn't look in directly, but peripherally. Sorry, I said that weird. I saw
Now,
mounds
that
of
doesn't make
blankets.
sense.
Huh?
That does not make sense.
Right.
Because her bedroom was all the way to the back. Why would she pass the bedroom when the bathroom is before Dee Dee's room?
I would need to look at the pictures
Didn't she stop
again.
in her bedroom to grab stuff too prior, like when they were leaving? So that's my only explanation on that. Because if she would have passed her Dee Dee's bedroom was right across from her bedroom.
Was
Like,
it? Or I thought it was down the hall.
It's down the hall and it's offset. So
Yeah.
her bedroom, it's the bathroom, her bedroom, then her mother's bedroom.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
But when she says that she slept with her mother, if you look at the crime scene photos, it looks like a makeshift bed on the floor next to
Yeah.
her mother's bed.
Not in the same bed. Not to mention
Correct.
that there was literally no way that two people would have fit in that tiny ass bed. I mean, there's
Yeah.
just no, and she said she slept on the left side of her, but if you look at the bed, like her mom was dead set in the middle. So unless she was like curled up in an inch of the bed, she didn't really have anywhere to sleep. Except
Right,
for
and
on
I
the
think
floor.
It was the makeshift bed on
Yeah.
the floor. There was another CPAP machine on the floor.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I'll have to go back and look at all the
Yes.
photos again. Thank you for pointing
Yes.
all that out. Okay, let me get back. But peripherally, I saw mounds of blankets on the bed and bags of clothes. She was buried in her own chaos. Get all these stuffed animals off the bed, Nick said as he followed me into my pink princess room. Yes, sir. Get on the bed. I lay supine on the bed as he took off his pants and straddled me, his legs pinning down mine. Then he put his arms around my neck and began to choke me. I just remember feeling pain from him holding me down. And at that point, I feel like there may have been penetration, but I don't remember that. I just remember crying. I remember trying to scream for my mom, but I didn't have enough air. This is not what I agreed to. Stop, I begged Nick. Okay, so this is where she's saying that he raped her, but then in the trial said no, that he didn't. So again, another contradiction. But he didn't. He just continued to choke me, one hand on my throat, one hand holding down my wrist above my head. I don't know what I was thinking when I agreed to let Nick grape me, but I know I didn't believe it was going to be real grape. I thought at worst, Nick would just pronounce aloud over and over that he was graping me or something like dirty talk or kink. But I was feeling pressure and sharp pains, like he was trying to stuff himself inside me, just like he had tried to in the movie theater bathroom. I just kept saying stop, which looking back, I realized was only playing into his grape fantasy. After all, isn't non consent the definition of grape? I don't hear you saying thank you, my submissive, Nick kept saying. He wanted me to be indebted to him in reverence to him for doing the deed. It's weird how they call literal schmurder the deed. Like you unalived your mom. Instead of calling it the deed, why don't you call it what it actually is?
Well, it's because they don't want to have admission to guilt, or at least she doesn't want.
She
admission to
doesn't.
guilt.
Yeah. Because she's a terrible person. Amelia, I think that she was agreeing to play out this this role play great fantasy, and I've heard about people doing that. Like two consensual adults pretending like it's it's non-consent, right? So she probably had it in her mind that she wanted to maybe feel what it felt like to be raped, because you have to remember she's very sick and sexually depraved, and this goes into that depravity that she has in her mind. I would not put it past her to actually want somebody to grape her just so that she can say that she was.
It's
You know,
not that she's sexually depraved. It's also the fact that the chromosome disorder that she has also leaves her very hypersexual.
very hypersexual. And this is a part of it. All of these weird fantasies that she has, things that I mean, do what you want in your own bedroom. You know what I mean? Like, do what you want. If you're a consenting adult and you have a partner that's willing to play out whatever fantasies you want to do, like, that's your business. She's telling all of us, which makes it our business now. And now we can comment on what she's saying. And for me,
She also said she wanted her daughter to read this book.
yeah,
And that's what I don't understand about it, because it's so graphic.
it's
Like,
really
I don't
graphic.
get how she could dedicate it to her daughter.
It's really graphic.
Yeah.
Chris, you're exactly right. That's why all these men want her, because she's willing to let them do things that most other women wouldn't let them do. I mean, who talks about soft, wet anal? Like, I've never even heard of that until I read it. I seriously, I never even heard of that until I read it in the text messages, and I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, I didn't even know what it was. Somebody had to explain to me what it was.
This is soft porn.
Yeah, it is.
It really is.
It really
and
is.
Some creepers keep asking to read this chapter. So I gotta run real quick. I'll be back on later. But thanks for having me up. You just amazing job. I'm glad there's other people that are awake reading this fiction.
Oh, I am awake. This is I want to say this is fantasy and fiction mixed together, and a little bit of comedy.
It's not even real life, because half of the book contradicts itself.
Yeah.
In itself. So it's not even facts. And a lot of these publishers need to fact check before publishing.
Like I said earlier, Sassy Missy, I don't know if you
want the money.
I don't know if you heard me, but I think that her writers are silently sabotaging her with the contradictions in this book. I think that
I have to agree with that.
I think that they're purposely trying to point people to the contradictions so that they can sabotage her in a slow way.
And I feel like Melissa is purposely doing it, because she realized that she set a monster upon the world.
Oh yeah.
And now she's trying to
Fix her mistake.
She doesn't have to admit that she messed up.
Yeah, she's trying to fix her mistake because she realized that GYPSY is exactly like her serial killer father.
Well, and if you haven't already looked into it, she's already gotten 4 teenagers to commit crimes.
GYPSY?
Yeah, the whole case, that whole the daughter killing her mom, and then the stepdad, that I can't remember her name. That was all because of GYPSY.
Well, I don't know if I'd give her that much credit. But we never know. Carly Gregg, yeah. I'm sure a lot of these people have I'm sure a lot of these people have heard about her. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't, but it's crazy to think that she's gonna get her downfall.
Joey said that they did say it was because of GYPSY, and they did say that.
That's
So,
crazy.
I
I
mean,
didn't
it's
hear
crazy.
that. I'll have to look that up. Thank you for bringing that to my awareness. Okay, where was I at? Sorry. I should have marked it where I was. And I feared that if I did not go along with it, if I found a way to wiggle out from beneath him, he'd go into the room across the hall and grape my mother's dead body. And I didn't want that. Well, Nick already said that he didn't want to do that either. I think she wanted him to, and he was like, I'm not doing that. At Nick's trial, the defense asked me if Nick raped me, and I said no because I felt like that's what I had to say. I heard the attorney say to me, "You agreed to it. You said you knew you'd be raped that night, so you wanted it." No attorney is going to say that to her. When you hear something like that, you know no matter what you say, even if it's how much it hurt, how many times you said stop or no or cry, the interrogators are looking for one answer, one that affirms their line of questioning. So regretfully, I said no. He didn't grape me, but to me, it was grape. I said no. I said stop. I cried for my mom who was dead. Again, I think that this was a fantasy that she was playing out. And of course, she was saying no, but I think they agreed prior to all of this happening that that's what was going to happen. And now she's trying to backtrack and say that it wasn't real and that he did, in fact, do something to hurt her. And I just don't believe that. I don't believe that he would do something like that because he has proven that he's not the one with the sick fantasies. She is. You know what I mean?
He doesn't have, I don't think he has the mental capacity
To
either
understand. Yeah, he doesn't have the.
to understand what is going on.
Yeah.
And that's not to be mean, but that's also have been proven that he doesn't have the mental capacity.
Right. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. There wasn't a moment when Nick finished per se because he said that he never did both times. Think about that for just a second. Both times that they were sexually intimate with one another, he never ejaculated. That tells you that he was not in a relaxed state of mind and he was very worried, concerned, and that he was only doing this to appease her. Because if this was really his fantasy, if he really had the, he would be getting off on it. Like he'd be jizzing everywhere. You know what I'm saying? If this was really something that he wanted to do and that he was the one who initiated, but him not being able to perform shows that this was.
Also makes me think, like with the whole murder, like I don't think he did any. Like maybe he had some part in it, but I really think Gypsy played a huge part.
Oh yeah, she was the primary aggressor for sure.
Bigger part than she wants to lead on.
Yeah,
because she doesn't want it. She doesn't want to get tried for that.
and she could be able to get tried for something else if she had admitted to a different crime, right?
Well, I still think legally the federal case, she could still get federally charged even from the same case, but the federal would have to open up an investigation, but I don't think they're going to go after her.
It's a shame.
Because there's a double jeopardy law.
Yeah, that's a shame though that they won't. There wasn't a moment when Nick finished per se. There was no moan or release or semen to wipe. He just stopped. He said later he wasn't getting any pleasure. Of course, he wasn't getting any pleasure because this wasn't what he wanted to do. He had just unalived somebody for you, and he probably had a lot of emotional stress about that. And the fact that she wanted to have sex immediately after just says a lot about her. There is a lapse in my memory, so I don't know if I backed out or just passed out from exhaustion. But the next thing I remember is Nick picking out some clothes for me and then stuffing them in a suitcase. The sound of the zipper felt so final. While we waited for the taxi to arrive, Nick ordered me to clean the little bits of blood trailing from my mom's bedroom to the kitchen, where he initially washed himself off. I took some baby wipes and cleaned the blood spots, not thinking about their origin. I grabbed my mother's money pouch with $4,000 in it and the rest of the Vicodin and Oxy. Say thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I removed pictures from the walls and put them all in trash bags, which we took to the curb. My logic was that if there was no pictures of me, maybe nobody would know I lived there and everyone would forget all about me. I imagine that when the police found her, they'd write in their notepads that Claudine Dee Dee Blanchard was a single woman living in the world alone all by herself. In many ways, she had been. I'm going to just run back to the last page. She said that she was cleaning up the blood spots, not thinking about their origin, but also that she grabbed her mother's money pouch with the $4,000 in it. Wouldn't that have been in her mom's safe? And the mother's safe was in her room. So
Are you talking about the money that she took?
Yeah.
Yeah, everything. So she had gone back for all the money and
Yeah.
everything.
So she went back in the room.
Yeah. So and I think the reason why she left some of the money was because she thought she was coming back to that house.
Yeah. She wanted to make sure that there was some left. Okay, this chapter 15 is The Hideout from Hell. That's what it's titled. Nick had booked, this must be either his room or the hotel. We're going to get into it. Nick had booked a room at Days Inn in Springfield. It was dawn by the time we checked in. The plan was to take the bus to Wisconsin later that day, except there weren't 2 bus tickets available until days later on June 12th. So we holed up in the hotel ordering pizza every day while I ate painkillers in between meals. I was high as a kite and didn't think about what would happen when I ran out of the Oxy. It recently crossed my mind that Nick and me getting caught may have prevented me from going to dangerous lengths in order to keep getting my fix. Would I have wound up with a laced street grade pill or upped my game with a more intense drug of choice? My drug use could have led to my own death. Oh my God. She's such a bullshitter. During the trial, a damning video of Nick that I recorded on my phone was shown. I giggled incessantly while saying, "He's eating a brownie. Later, he'll be eating me." Watching the entire courtroom see that video at Nick's trial was more humiliating than I can describe. But I listened to that recording now, and it's so obvious I'm in La La Land. In fact, I was high all the way through my initial interrogation in Wisconsin. I find that to be bullshit, because if that were true, then she would have been going through withdrawal in the interrogation room. And when you're going through withdrawal, you're definitely not as chatty as she was. And you're definitely not able to eat or sleep like she was. And she would have been.
And pretend to be listening to the police officer.
Yeah, like she would have been visibly going through a lot of symptoms physically that you could see.
I watched her full interrogation video and there was no signs.
None. No signs of withdrawal. And I've been through pain pill withdrawal, and she didn't exhibit any of it. None.
You're sweating,
You're anxious, you're like pacing back and forth, unable to relax.
Anxiety is like way, and she was trying to think clearly of what her next move would be.
Yeah. She was definitely more clear-headed than she is leading on. I'm going to go ahead and let up hold on. Where did you go? Did I clear off? I'm sorry. Hold on. There she is.
Well, and that's why we think that this is another fabrication of her book, is that she was on medication, on pain medication, and it's been proven in the toxicology reports that she was not.
Right. Because she didn't have anything in her system. And if she was taking pills on a regular basis,
it would be showing up.
It would be
prior to what it was. It would still be in her system.
Yeah, it would be showing up, because if I'm remembering correctly, pills take about 72 hours to come out of your system, and the more you take, the longer it takes. So
but it's still in your bloodstream.
Yeah.
For about 2 weeks, it's still in your bloodstream. The withdrawals it depends on the withdrawals, because the withdrawals can last 3 to 4 days depending on if she is withdrawing, but she didn't display any symptoms of that.
Okay. I think we can have 3 or 4 people up at a time. So
you should be able to set it where it's I think it's somewhere in your multi-guest where it can be at least 6 people.
Let me see.
Or up to 6 people. It just depends on your settings.
Let me look, because I know whenever I was going live before, I had it set to where I could have like the most.
Hug lady, you've got to hit the multi-guest button, sweetie.
There we go.
It should request it that way. Multi-guest. Hug lady, hit multi-guest and then request.
Yes, please join me in this discussion. I don't want to be alone up here.
Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to let up Charlie too. But just you guys keep in mind that I do want to finish the rest of this chapter, and then we can get into discussion. So if you guys, if you all want to just
once you do the multi thing, but before that I was like, oh, I just usually click on a link or a button. But yeah, I absolutely want you to finish, even though this is a horror story, literally. But going through withdrawal, I mean, I've never gone through pill withdrawal, but I have gone through alcohol withdrawal.
It's about the same.
And it is god awful. Like, you are in sweats, you are like
Breaking your anxiety,
shaking, absolutely. And for her to go in, alcohol comes out of your system, I think, faster than some of these drugs.
Yeah.
And for her to have gone in and have a completely clear talk screen, I'm sorry.
And the way that she was
user, no way.
The way that she was talking in the interrogation was not.
She was talking about Disneyland and how
Yeah.
she just went on a huge, like, she wasn't even talking like she was
On like she was in withdrawal or anything.
She was just
Most people
like, oh, why do you have me here? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm here.
She was concerned about going to get her stuff back.
That's what
You
she
know?
wanted.
Like, when can I go get my stuff? Because while Nick's in the other room, handcuffed to a chair, she's sleeping on a couch, and he's begging and crying to see her. And all she can say is, "Oh, when can I go get my stuff? Get the money that I stole."
Her reaction when her mother was like, it wasn't even. You could see it wasn't. Sorry.
The only
No,
time
you're fine.
she cried and gave real emotion or remorse in that entire interrogation is when they said she wasn't getting that money back.
Exactly.
That, and when she was jumping up and down for the lawyer, it sounded like she was about to cry after. Like she realized that.
When she was hugging the floor, you mean? When she
Yeah.
was on the floor and going in between the door trying to get the officer's attention and saying,
Yes.
I want a lawyer.
Yeah.
I need a lawyer. Sir, I need a lawyer.
It definitely seemed like she was starting to have a realization that things were not going to go her way. Okay, let me get back.
Say, I'm not a prude, by any means. I'm actually really not. I have a really dark sense of humor and I make a lot of really inappropriate jokes all the time. If you see some of the comments that I make on stuff, like I'm always like, she's ruining like sex for us all.
She really is.
Like I am not a prude, but this book actually really grosses me out.
It's
Like,
giving way
I
too
am
many
not either.
details. Way too many
50
details.
Shades was my best friend.
Yeah.
It's too much, and the fact like they don't have a rating on it, or like at least I don't think they did. Like someone said five and up.
Okay, can everybody mute themselves? So mute yourselves, and then whenever I stop for a second, we can all have a discussion again. This is the last chapter that I'm gonna read, but because I don't know what's in it, I'm sure there's gonna be things that we'll want to talk about in the chapter. The morning we were to finally depart from the bus depot, Nick and I decided to discard the murder weapon. At first, he suggested that I put it in my backpack and take it on the bus ride back to Wisconsin. I had never been on a bus and was afraid I'd have to pass through metal detectors, so I said, let's mail it. I can't remember who it was, but somebody did a TikTok saying that her never being on a bus was also a lie because her and her mom went to some they went somewhere on a bus.
Wasn't it to Comic-Con or something?
Yes,
like that?
it might not have been to Comic-Con, but it was definitely to a different location, like out of state or something. I'll have to find the video, but they said that this was also a lie because she mentioned in another video about how they were on a bus going somewhere else.
I had a bus pass though.
Yeah, and she had a bus pass, even though that's a different type of bus, but even still, the Greyhound bus and a city bus, neither one of them have metal detectors. Okay. Let's mail it. I didn't think it would be different than when people purchase kitchen knives on the internet and have them shipped. No big deal. So we put the knife in a manila envelope and mailed it to Nick's parents' house. I even put my return address on it. Reality was not a place I resided in. The knife made it safe and sound to its destination and was eventually recovered by detectives. It was used as evidence against us both after it was found hidden in Nick's closet. After we dropped off our mail, we ate at the Waffle House. I wasn't used to eating or drinking, and the drugs made me nauseous. So the short stack and chocolate milk I ordered made me sick to my stomach. One of the legitimate medical conditions I have is a lactose intolerance, so I was doubled over in pain. We had to go back to the room so I could lie down before our long trip to Big Bend. Isn't milk in Pediasure? I mean, hey, Roma.
It's so good that I was on mute because I was like, oh God, the whole time.
Can I also say this is where federal comes into play because not only did she mail the weapon, but she also crossed state lines. So this is where federal could still recharge her with the same crime.
And they should.
And not get her for that double jeopardy charge.
The fraud charges, even if you want to go and say, okay, those organizations like, Make-A-Wish and whatever, and all the other things, even if you take that out, she took away, I don't know what you guys, I've heard people call it SSI, I don't know, we call it
Social
welfare.
Security.
Yeah, I don't know, like I'm in Canada, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's called SSI here.
Like disability, right?
Yeah.
So, but she took away from that. So the government here, doesn't screw around with that. Even if those organizations are willing to pardon you and just say, we want nothing to do with you, I mean, the government usually doesn't.
Well, and that's another where federal could still charge them too.
And she knew it was coming down. She wasn't a little kid. She knew. And actually, what I was going to say with the comment you made about the Greyhound buses and the regular buses is we had one of the worst crimes in Canada on a Greyhound bus. If you remember that guy that was
Mm-mm.
brutally killed on the Greyhound bus, and like it was a very terrible crime. It was like in BC or Alberta, and no, they don't have that. So I don't know what the hell she's talking about. Like, why wouldn't you be able to bring a weapon on those? It's not like a freaking airplane where you have to
Right.
go through.
Where you have to go through security and stuff like that.
But
Like
she knew
a
that.
Greyhound bus is not
He
the
knew
same.
that. She knew, and he'd already made that trip 3 times. Are you telling me he didn't know?
Right. They knew.
Wait, which part are we talking about?
You guys are talking about the
Chapter
metal
15.
detectors, right?
Oh, hey, Fancy. Yeah.
Hey,
Hi,
and
Fancy.
I wanted to say to what you were just saying though about the Social Security disability. Here's the thing though, Sarah. Here is the thing. She actually is disabled. So there was no
True.
actual fraud happening by her collecting SSI or
That's true.
Medicaid
But
or
hold on,
any of those
wait,
things.
Fancy.
That's the problem.
Fancy, can you correct me though if I'm wrong? Is that they could get her on the cancer stuff though that her mom?
No, because nothing was being billed for that. No.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Mm.
There is no actual medical fraud that Dee Dee or Gypsy were committing.
Okay.
That makes sense
Now, the
because they were both
doctors-
covered under the Medicaid
Right.
or whatever.
They would have had to have proof of the cancer and stuff to be on to get all that.
But what about the fact she's saying there's nothing wrong with her? Like, wouldn't that kind of be like, okay, well then?
No, because her
So-
mom has medical proof that she does have this chromosome disorder, and that's all stated in the medical records.
And then
The medical records prove that every condition that she's saying she didn't have, she had.
right.
Okay, that's her story. Her story has been that because then it facilitates the whole, MVP abuse story, right? Which is one of the reasons why I do believe that they never wanted to give me the records from when she's really little, because it would have shown that nope, I would have seen all of that from the very beginning. I only got the ones that I got from Louisiana because they were in Dr. Steele's, her primary care
Right, and didn't she
physicians.
claim she lost those medical records to Katrina
Melissa Moore
anyways?
has,
But they weren't. No, they weren't. And the doctors knew they weren't lost.
does
But I'm
Melissa
just
Moore
saying,
have those records?
didn't Dee Dee state that though, that she didn't have those medical records due to the Katrina?
No one has that anywhere other than the doctors say that certain doctors say that they don't have them and that they're requesting them and then they don't get them, and that can just be that they didn't get sent them. But several of the doctors had them. Dr. Flasterstein, which is the neurologist that stated that it could have been a possible, Munchausen by proxy, he had tons of records. Dr. Steele as well, her primary care physician, the whole time she was in Missouri, he has
Because
the
I
records.
automatically assumed Dee Dee had stated that they were
No.
lost, and
Nope.
none of these doctors had that information.
No, you
So
Which
that's
would be
That's
an
the thing,
actual
guys. You have to
MVP,
separate-
right?
You have to literally separate everything you've heard them say and start over.
Right.
I'm not even kidding you. And
You're
go
right.
through piece by piece every piece of evidence that's put out there. If you really want to know what happened and the story and the truth, that's the only way you're going to get it. You cannot listen to anything any of them have said, not the experts that they've hired, not the MVP
No.
people that never saw the files.
No, you literally
not
have
the
to dig through
doctors that have
and every
appeared.
single medical record.
I've
Right.
never quite understood that though. Like, and not just in this particular case, but in trials all over.
Yeah.
Is how they can put these medical witnesses or medical experts up on trial, and they'll, obviously the defense will hire them or the prosecution
Right.
or whatever, but typically it's the defense, and they'll go in defense of somebody, and it's like,
And it's to state their own
Yeah.
opinion. It's not to state that they
but they're
had
getting
this.
paid as well, usually,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's like they're very biased on
That's why.
one
Okay, that's
way.
why I never. Everybody always tells me go to the trial transcripts. Let's talk about a different case, like Darlie Routier. Okay, so I'm on the fence of whether Darlie Routier actually unalived her children or not. Okay,
Which
and
case is that? Sorry, just
the Darlie Routier case. It's out of Texas.
it was the mom who was convicted on like silly string and boobs, right? Like no evidence. She unalived two of her children. The father was upstairs.
Okay,
with the
yeah.
third. Okay. That's a very controversial case. She's on death row. Innocence Project is involved. I know her sister, like all of that. Okay. Anytime you make an argument in a room where they're against Darlie, all they say is, "Have you not read the transcripts? Did you not read the transcripts? Did you not read the transcripts?" And I'm like, okay, here's the problem with a court case. A court case is a story told by two different people with two different narratives, and whoever has the best narrative
Wins.
Okay, it's not a truthful accounting to be taken into that's the end be all of all that happened in this case, because to know all of that, you have to look at all the evidence that was thrown out.
And that means every single medical and diagnosis from each doctor, and not just from what the trial is stating.
I just feel like as a professional, as a medical professional, no one should even be hiring you. Like, it shouldn't be the defense or the prosecution. You should just be going and like listening to what the person has to say and determining based on that. I mean, look at Sarah Booth. Like, good Lord, her last speech was one of the worst speeches. And then we found out that wasn't even the last speech. She wrote a letter and it was the worst. You know, like, I just
think in trials, I think people believe that trials are an accurate representation of a case.
And they're not.
They're not. Because it's all about schematics and the judge and politics and the DA and the defense attorney.
Fancy, I have a question for you. Do you?
And it also
Yes, you guys, I want to finish reading this last chapter. So, if we want to just put off the conversation just for a little bit, or I'm even happy if you want to take the conversation to your page, I will not be offended at all.
I'm sorry, say what you guys said again. I don't know what you said.
I said I want to finish reading this chapter, and if you guys want to continue your conversation, that's lovely. We can put it off until the chapter is over, or if you want to continue the conversation on your page, that's totally fine as well.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like hijack. The only thing I wanted to explain though was about the fact that no, there isn't medical fraud, that they can get her on like that because of the fact that she actually was disabled.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry.
And I didn't know that she was receiving disability, and I think that that's even more evidence to back up that she does in fact have medical issues, because most people are not able to receive disability unless it's been proven a fact that there is in fact something wrong with them. It took my stepdad literally 5 years to be approved for disability. So it's not something that they just give every single American with some sort of a handicap. Like you have
Anything unless they absolutely have to.
Yeah, they do not give it unless they absolutely have to. So I didn't know that. I'm glad to hear that now.
Here in Kentucky, yeah. So anyway, that's all I really wanted to
Well,
explain,
thank you.
so that you guys would have that as a basis to understanding that, yeah, she had SSI, and it's not something you can charge her on because of the fact that it's not a federal crime because she actually was disabled.
Okay.
And I appreciate you explaining that, because I actually did not know that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Anyway, that's all I wanted to do, and this book is a doozy. I can tell you that.
I'm still reading, so we'll get through it all together.
We're going to be covering chapter 1, 2, and 3 tomorrow night on YouTube. So
Awesome.
yeah, so we'll be coming with, I'll be bringing all the evidence that I have to like dispute each lie. That's where I'm at right now. I just want to dispute the lies.
Yeah, I think that that's
So, all right,
important.
you guys have a good night. And
You
continue
too.
reading. But have a good one.
You too.
Bye, Fancy. Bye, thank you.
Alrighty, bye. Okay, so she says one of the legitimate medical conditions she had was lactose intolerance, blah, blah, blah. The next thing is, in my delusional mind, I was preparing to meet the love of my life's family. I wanted to make a good impression on his mother. I felt bad that we had to lie to her, telling her that the reason I was coming to live with them and why it was so urgent that Nick came to get me was because my mother had kicked me out of the house. Nick's mother thought she was providing me refuge from a homeless shelter. I hadn't even met her yet, and I had already betrayed her kindness. The entire time with Nick's family, over the course of about 2 days, we stayed upstairs in Nick's room. His mom, stepdad, and 8-year-old brother didn't bother us much. Nick didn't drive, so we walked to the gas station for drinks and snacks, but other than that, he wanted me naked in his room the entire time. Being naked in his bed were his orders, and as his submissive, I obliged. He didn't want to have sex with me or anything. He just demanded that when I was in his presence, I be naked. After the first night, I looked around his room and I was disgusted by dirty clothes, wrappers, and moldy food. He hoarded like my mom, except she didn't have any old food lying around. I tried to ignore the crusty sheets and the sweat stained comforter. When I asked him to use his shower, I remember thinking I hadn't seen him shower since the moment he arrived at my mother's house. Not once in the hotel and not once when we got to his home. Observing more of his lifestyle, I began to question how long I could live there. It was the first time I had any foresight. How would we live? Would I get a job? What would I do day after day? Without an anchor or a compass, I wanted my mother. And then I washed the thought right away with a Xanax and half an Oxy, rationing them now. I do remember her bringing up the sweaty sheets and all that other stuff. I think it's funny now that she's saying that he was also hoarding, like her mother was hoarding, like Ryan was hoarding. So everybody's a hoarder. And then she brings up the fact that he didn't take a shower, but neither did she. She was wearing the same fucking clothes that she had on the night that they left.
So she's the one that makes the mess. That house got a mess because her mother couldn't move.
Yeah.
And the other thing you just read that actually I have never heard before and really greatly disturbed me was the comment about his little brother, because I heard in one of Fancy's older videos, which I'd never really put into perspective, just about how freaky it would have been when the police went to their house.
Yeah.
But like, keep in mind, their family was there, like the mom, the stepdad, the son, and those two were like in the room, like banging.
Yeah.
How
The entire time.
uncomfortable would that have been?
And didn't you state that she didn't know how to take care of her hygiene
Yeah.
until she was in prison?
Yeah. That's what she said in the confessions. So her and think about it, from the time that she left her mom's house to Nick's house to going to prison was a total of maybe 11 days. So in those 11 days, she didn't take a shower. She didn't take care of herself. And of course, when you go to jail, they make you shower right when you get there.
Yes,
they
they
make
do.
you take a shower.
Yeah, they do.
And they make you take a shower pretty much every day when you're in county jail.
They do. Yeah.
When you're in prison, that's a different thing. But when you're in county jail, them motherfuckers make you take a shower. I spent 30 days for a DUI, and they make you shower.
Because they don't want to have like diseases.
Yeah, or
them,
head
right?
lice or anything like that. Like,
Exactly.
so they make you shower. It's like you have to. So that was probably the first time that she had ever really taken care of herself.
Lounge around in it, or whatever the hell she said.
She's just nasty.
Have you ever heard the Cats and Crochet lady from that worked for Habitat?
I have
That's
not.
A whole interesting thing. She was on Starlight's panel, and she just talks about what an ungrateful little, like, how Gypsy acted when she was there doing the Habitat thing, how she was abusive to her mom, how she was...
Was she the one that stated that she tried to get the Habitat this with Christy?
Yeah, she was, and I don't know if that's
I
accurate
don't know
or
if
not.
that's
I
100%
didn't-
true, but I heard it. That was all alleged. Apparently, is that Gypsy tried recently to get another home for humanity, Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah, I heard that, and I did hear
Sicko mom.
I did hear Cats and Crochet. I didn't watch it, but I watched it. I didn't watch it live because I think she was on Sir Morbid, but I watched the
Originally,
replay,
I think.
or there was a clip or something that I seen where she was talking about how Gypsy like hit her 8-year-old daughter.
She pulled her hair.
Yeah.
She was a wig
Yeah,
and
yeah,
pulled
yeah,
her
yeah.
hair.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
Yeah, it was on Starlight's thing, and
That's where it
I
was.
totally
Thank you.
believe that. I really do.
I do
know
too.
DJ has come for her and really like tried to throw her under the bus and said she's not real and whatever. But like she knows quite a bit about a lot, so I don't like. Why would someone make that? I mean, why would Gypsy make all this shit up? I guess, but I personally think her story is very credible, and I do think she was abusing her mother.
I do too.
I do think she was being a little brat, and she at this time, remember, she was in her late teens, if not 20s. So but was pretending to be okay. I guess she'd be late teens.
And one
was
thing that I
pretending to
do
be
want to
like
point
12.
out about that is that if you look at her toxicology report, I'm actually very curious to see if there was ever any insulin in her body. If there was not any evidence that insulin was in her body, that would explain the weakness and her not being able to really move and protect
Who, Dee Dee?
Yes.
So apparently there wasn't. However, I've also heard from people that know a lot about that it can break down in the body because there's also not a very clear, usually when, and I'm sure Fancy was still here, but she would know more, but apparently when like a time of death is never an absolute. But there is a science behind it. But when you look at this case, there was never an actual time of death really.
If her sugars though were so high and so out of whack, that would explain a lot of her not being able to defend herself.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Painkillers too.
We only have a few more pages. Let's.
In her toxicology report, it was proven that she had nothing in her system.
Exactly. So to me, that's systematic torture.
We only have a few more pages left. Let's go ahead and try to skirt through the rest of this. Let me figure out where I was. While Nick and I quarantined in his room, my mind wandered. We didn't have a plan for the aftermath. What if nobody found her body? What if the police never wrote anything in the notepad and she just decomposed, or worse, our hungry cats feasted on her? That's sick. Frantic.
She left them outside.
Like, that's sick. Why would she even think that the cats would eat her mom? Frantic, it became.
Dumped them outside. What is she talking about?
I guess she wants us to think the worst. Frantic, it became urgent for me to figure out a way to get someone to go over to the house and find her and to bury her, like she said she had wanted once she passed. Don't you dare cremate me, she'd say. You'd stick me in the ground. I get enough hot flashes as it is. I logged on to mine and Dee Dee's joint Facebook account and changed the status to "that bitch is dead." It was the complete opposite logic of removing the pictures of myself from the wall. Now, instead of wiping clean my existence, I hope to lure people in because they knew of my existence and that I'd never post such a thing. Almost immediately, people thought we were hacked and messaged us asking if everything was okay. One person even wondered if we were watching a movie. Worried that nobody was concerned enough, I elaborated, posting, "I fucking slashed that fat pig and raped her sweet innocent daughter. Her scream was so fucking loud. Laugh out loud. The police were called and the search for me began. Unbeknownst to me, the media went wild with the story. Our neighbor Aaliyah knew about my secret boyfriend and Facebook page after I had a rare moment with her alone and confided in her. Trying to connect with a girl my age on subject matter I guessed was relatable. Here she goes bringing up her age again. How would she have known how old she was if she didn't know
Maybe
how
that
old she
ID
was?
card she was carrying.
Yeah.
What about that, you know?
She was so worried. Another one of my betrayals that still haunts me. Aaliyah was kind and generous and told detectives about my online boyfriend. It didn't take long for the police to trace my laptop's IP address to Nick's home. On June 15th, 2015, 5 days after the murder, armored police vehicles and what looked like SWAT teams surrounded Nick's family home, treating the situation as a kidnapping. I can't imagine the fear and confusion that came over Nick's family, especially his little brother, as the police removed them from their own home. Then over a loudspeaker we heard, "Nick, go to John. Come out with your hands above your head." I looked at Nick. He looked at me. We were both naked. Robotically, quietly, we got dressed. Hearing a forceful voice call out Nick's name like he was a known fugitive was surreal, dreamlike. I didn't think yet that I was in trouble, but I also didn't know what our next move could be. "Come here," Nick said, pointing to where he was standing in front of his closet. We both got into the closet, locked the door, and sat. "What are we going to do?" I asked. My only guiding light. "We just stick to the story. Your mom kicked you out. You were on the streets, and I came to get you to live with us. We stick to the story no matter what." Realizing we were about to be separated, I began to tremble. The gravity of losing him pulled on my heart. "Okay," I answered, "stick to the story, but I promise I'm going to get you the best lawyer money can buy with the $4,000.
Where did he even get four? Oh, with the money they stole from her mother.
With the money they stole from her mother. $4,000 is not enough to hire any sort of attorney. Not a family attorney, not a criminal attorney, and definitely not somebody to hire for murder.
A
Like,
traffic violation, perhaps.
like,
That's all you're getting for
$4,000
$4,000.
is nothing for an attorney
I mean, I
fee.
know we're in 2015, but you know, it's still.
But she was the DP. Like, that's a major case, and I
Yeah.
still to this day don't understand how you go from a DP down to 8 years and now out with like
Her
fans.
whole plea deal didn't make sense, and the reason she got the whole plea deal was because it was election year and no judge wanted to touch it.
Exactly. And he's still there. That's part of the problem too, like Becca was saying.
Well, the
He's
media,
still
as
the DA.
Mike played the media in his favor and in her favor. That's really what it all boils down to.
Well, and not only that, the lawyers came up with the whole MVP thing so that they can make a tighter case that Gypsy was being abused.
Right.
Which is crazy because the only two people who have, at least on social media that we know of, who have come out and used that, which is her and Kate, are both
Yeah,
liars.
but Kate was a liar too.
Yeah.
Exactly, both liars. So it's actually quite terrible for actual real victims of this because there is real victims of it.
Well, and that's
Because
why the people behind that's why the people behind MVP are really mad that Gypsy is the face of it all because she was a victim. It was malingering, as Fancy said.
Well, she's not necessarily the face of it because I think her story is starting to crumble before her very eyes. So
I agree with you.
it really is starting to crumble. Okay,
she's the face of something, but I don't know if it's that.
You have to remember too that this book was not written by Gypsy. It was embellished by Melissa Moore
And
someone
Melissa,
else.
yeah.
It's not her words. It's them putting words in her mouth, coaxing her, coaching her on what to say.
At the
And
end of
then
the
they
day,
know
though,
it.
if you sign off on that and you read it in your own words and and you reap the benefits of that, then you are as culpable as the people that wrote it. So
Definitely.
Okay, can everybody mute?
yes.
Okay, I answered. Stick to the story, but I promise I'm going to get you the best lawyer money can buy with the $4,000. We sealed our pact with a kiss. Nick let me go down the stairs to the front door first. I remember being at the landing before taking my first step and seeing all the police in military gear, like you would see on the news about troops in Afghanistan. I was about to descend into a sea of bulletproof vests and helmets and guns. The guns had lasers on them. The lasers were pointed at me. Hold your fire. Don't shoot. Don't shoot. Several voices collided. They hadn't expected me to come down first. Keep your hands where we can see them. Instinctively, I put my arms up like a goalpost. I'm okay. I'm okay, I kept saying. I'm unarmed. I'm coming down. The instant I appeared at the front door, a hand yanked me like a cane yanks a bad act off a stage. I was swooped away by my shoulders, carried off as if my kidnapper was at my heels. They cuffed me behind my back and sat me down on the hood of a police car, firing off question after question. What's your name? How old are you? What's your social security number? I told them I was Gypsy Rose Blanchard with an E at the end, and I was 19. I was really about a month shy of 24, the same age my mother was when she had me. I had no clue about my social security number, which is bullshit because she took her social security card with her. The questions continued. Does he have any weapons? Any bombs? Has he hurt you? I told them he didn't, waiting for Nick's silhouette to appear in the doorframe. Then I saw several police officers holding onto him and body slamming him onto the concrete where they cuffed him. And I remember him hollering, "Hey, you're hurting me." We were taken in separate police cars to the precinct where Nick and I would wait for Missouri detectives to fly to Wisconsin to take over the case. The room I waited in had a comfortable couch, and I remember a pillow in the shape of I'm sorry. Hold on, my son was texting. In the shape of a fish. There was a guard outside who I babbled to. I just kept talking and talking out of nervousness, telling him all about my trips to Disney World. For 4 hours, I went on and on about every movie in the Harry Potter series. At this point, there were nice people asking me about the different medications I was taking. They were concerned I hadn't taken my dosage of Keppra, my seizure medication. So they managed to get me some, which always made me sleepy. I napped while I waited. I never saw her took any medication while she was in the interrogation room. It took 10 minutes for Nick to give me up. I didn't trail too far behind that. Detective Stan Hancock questioned me while Nick had a female detective, Angela
You just
Mahoney.
explained it. You explained why she hates him so much.
Yeah, because he
It took
gave him
10
10 minutes.
to give her up.
Yeah,
That's why.
that's
I
why
always
she's so
wonder.
mad.
Huh.
I guess she thought that he would stick to the story and not give in as quickly, maybe, but I mean, we saw the interrogation. He did give her up pretty quick. However, he was also under the impression that she had already told them everything. That's what Angela had said, remember?
Exactly.
So,
and those
for somebody
interrogations shouldn't be used on people that are of special needs,
right,
because they don't
understand
that.
that.
You're telling them a fib.
Yeah, they don't understand lies like regular people do. Looking at the footage of me in the interview room, I didn't recognize or recall myself. It's almost like being out of body, seeing yourself the way everyone else sees you, the way you really are. I don't like the girl I see. So now she's admitting that she even watched her own interrogation.
She's a narcissist. Of course she did. She probably watches every single video she's ever been on times 10. She watches every single thing. I guarantee you, Becca Scoop's video, Fancy's videos.
Oh, she watches
she's watched
everything. But I understood now. We are naturally wired for self-preservation. As full of holes as my responses were, I was trying to build my own life raft. The detectives bet on a bluff, telling Nick that I had ratted him out. Then they sat back and let the he said, she said games begin. Nick named me the mastermind. I named him the monster. He said he was trying to save me from abuse. I said my mother was my best friend. He said I bought the knife, gave him the gloves, rounded up the duct tape. I said he had a dark side and wanted to feed her to the pigs and grape her dead body. He said my mother made people think I was sick. I said Nick was sick. The seasoned detectives knew soon enough we'd implode as we'd moved facts around like chess pieces on a board controlled by expert opponents. As Hancock moved from questioning to probing, I could feel the temperature of the water rising, boiling me alive. I'm in trouble. Finally, I realized it, and as such, I panicked. My sentences made no sense most of the time. I didn't even finish them. But she hated him. She despised. She wouldn't. It's just that I wasn't sure how to articulate that I just wanted to be free, that it was her or me, do or die. She was going to hurt me. She was going to slit my throat.
Herself in that sentence.
She
just said,
it's
Nick said he was saving her, and she said my mother was my best friend, and then she goes to say, like, is no one able to read the freaking English language here?
Well,
She just
because she was throwing Nick under the bus. That's
yeah.
why. Literally, because she didn't want to be caught as the true manipulator.
But we all know she is. Like now everyone knows. I wasn't sure how to articulate that I just wanted to be free. She was going to hurt me. She was going to slit my throat. She was going to take my voice. Somebody reminded me that this whole her taking her voice was from The Little Mermaid. Like, how stupid does she sound? Would they listen? Would they listen to me? Would they understand? Would they care? Why would they? I didn't trust a soul. And once Hancock told me Nick blamed it all on me, I mourned the loss of the trust I had for him. As I became undone, Hancock spoke in metaphors, something like, this is your chance to write your own story. You're the pen, and I won't know anything until you tell me what happened. Why did you do this? I didn't, I cried. I didn't. I was lying, but I was telling the truth.
What? What does that even mean?
The same thing that it means every other time. She's always lying, but she thinks that she's telling people the truth, or she wants people to believe that she's telling the truth because she's literally always lying.
So on Starlight's Live, they were saying it was
Alexa,
somebody who
off.
knows more, that it's one of those scopes that goes down your goddamn throat. A lot of people have them. If you've ever had like a regular procedure, yes, you have to be under anesthesia. But it is a normal procedure. Your voice box is not cut. You are not put under if even this is real. It would have been a routine thing that she was getting done, and God knows we've all heard the girl.
Yeah,
maybe you should have had it looked at. That's all I'm gonna say.
Honestly, I think with the whole police proceeding, she was just trying to confuse the police so that she didn't get caught, because I really think that she thought she was going back home.
Yeah, she definitely.
She's smarter than everybody, and she's not.
in the way that her behavior was, you can definitely tell that she thought that she was going to like weasel her way into and out of being charged with a crime. Like she was shocked.
If you watch the interrogation, she uses the voice that we all hate, the voice, to sweet talk the police, and the police are not falling for it.
Yeah, because they're
It's a
smarter.
terrible voice, like
And like Hancock said, I'm not falling for this.
I have a lawyer.
He said, I'm not falling for the sympathetic bullshit. Like he was trying to be nice, but he said, I'm not falling for the sympathetic BS. Good night,
I
Emma.
did like him at that point. I did. But at the beginning, I didn't because he was like, the hickey thing really turned me off. When he's like, that doesn't look like a hickey. Like as if he was giving her kind of like a reason to say he abused her. You know
I didn't like that he kept answering the questions for her and probing her and like coaching her on what to say, like leading her. Is that that's what they would call it?
Leading.
Yeah.
Is the whole exactly.
That's what they would call it if they were like in
When a police officer does that, they're playing, one cop bad, one cop good. So they're trying to
play
get
with
her
fire
to come
because
out.
a defense attorney can rip that to shreds.
Yeah.
If they were good, but Nick's defense attorney was literally to see Mike Stanfield, who was also a public defender, come up with this elaborate thing of MVP and. Yeah, you guys get what I'm saying. And to see his attorney, I just don't understand.
Well, and here's the thing that people don't understand either is you cannot diagnose, a woman who's kaput.
No, it's not rabies. It's not rabies. You can't dissect the brain and see it.
Can't diagnose, and it was clear. She had all these issues. The surgeries that she had to have done were medically necessary because of her microdeletion. It's been proven. And Fancy has all these records. Natasha Cooper has all these records. It's been shared on everybody. So, the fact is that she's trying to keep claiming nothing is wrong with her, but the facts are all there.
And
she sits there in like platforms from like from the 1990s, like not able to walk off the stage. Okay, cool. Like, yeah, we're all believing that. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that she was receiving disability. And that, like I said before when Fancy was on, her receiving disability means that the doctors found shit to be wrong with her and she would never be able to work. That's why they give you disability, because you can't earn an income.
I got denied twice for disability.
Yeah.
I think she can work. I'm not there like with her every day, but like she seems to be doing a lot of her own stuff. I mean, there's a lot
here's
of
the thing: if she actually got a real job, people wouldn't be after her. It's the fact that she is on social media, which is where the crime first started. She should not be legally allowed to be on social media. Period.
Unreal.
She is a felon. There are other felons on TikTok who she could be associating with.
If you were a PDO, and which in some senses of the crime she was, like maybe not in that case, but you're not allowed to go near schools. You're not allowed to be near children of a certain age. She may not be that because, well, I think she has certain tendencies. However, she is, Nick was of age, but she is a PRED, and that joke about that. So I don't understand why you would let a person like.
And what I don't understand is why Lifetime is allowing her to do this and to be in the public eye, but she can't get a real job. Like,
No,
come on.
she can get a real job. She just thinks she's above a real job. I mean, we all saw when that Lifetime or her dad was filming on his phone and he walked by her room, which is so embarrassing at like 34.
I was
And she
talking
was
about
like,
this with
"Dad,
Roma.
get
I was talking about this with Roma earlier in DMs. Lifetime pushed her to have a pregnancy, and she is nowhere near. If she that is if she is pregnant, she is nowhere near to be a
Don't
parent.
even get me started. Please finish the book. Please finish.
No,
I'm
we're
so
we're
sorry. We
no,
interrupted again.
we're done. We're done with the chapters that I'm reading this evening. I do need to go though because my son needs me. He needs my help with something. I'm gonna be back on tomorrow. We're gonna start tomorrow with chapter 16. There are 7 chapters left. So I think what I'll do tomorrow is we'll read chapters 16 through 19, and then the night after that we'll read 21, 22, and 23.
I'm trying to come in a little earlier. I can't.
Yeah, but even if she can't make $3 million at a regular job, she could at least get an hourly job that could be a lot of money. Even like construction workers make a crap ton of money.
Yeah, and there's a lot of jobs that you can do where you don't have to physically be up moving around. You know what I mean? Like, I think that her disability was because of her legs and the lack of mobility.
Well, it's her legs and her muscle weakness.
Right. But there's a lot of jobs that you can do sitting down. She could even work at home from the computer.
All my
Like,
jobs are sitting down. I've never got off my ass once in any of my jobs.
yeah.
And I was gonna say, Sassy, if you want to throw a live after this, I would love to keep talking. I actually really like your opinion on stuff, and so I just added you. So if you actually want to keep going, I would love to.
That's cool. Y'all have a good night and enjoy your conversation. You'll have to tell me about it tomorrow.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Good night, you guys.
Yeah, go ahead and follow me. I wouldn't mind going live and letting
I would love
If
to.
you guys want to come in, I can totally go live and we can continue the discussion.
Please do.
That's totally fine.
Y'all have a good night.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Hold on. Okay. Good night, you guys. That was a lot going on. I don't think I'll let Kimber, relax. I don't think I'll let more than one other person up because that was just too many people trying to talk over one another, and then everyone else was kind of trying to hijack the live, and I just really wanted to read the book. So I think that it's nice to have like one other person that is able to contribute some information that I don't already know. But if we're just gonna like go back and forth and like converse about the crime and this, that, and the other, that can be done a different time. I do like being able to point out the contradictions while we're live and all of that. So it is nice to have other people listening, but that was way too many people in the chat box on TikTok. So I apologize for that, and I will be mindful of that tomorrow, and that way we're not interrupted and can actually read the book without a lot of interruptions, because that was a lot of interruptions there for the last little bit. So I apologize for that. Yeah, that's what I was saying. And that's what I said. I said, I'll let you up, but let's not discuss anything until the end of the chapter. But everybody just kept butting in whenever they heard things that they knew were contradictions, which I understand because I do that too whenever I see things. But yeah, I'll be a little bit more vigilant about that tomorrow. See you guys tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it was so nice having you here. Y'all have a wonderful night.